Welcome to the Embodiment Podcast. This show is for you if you see the body as more than a brain taxi. It's for people interested in coming home to the body as a holistic aspect of who we are and how we live. Episodes contain practical tips, exercises you can take away, and interviews with specialists from around the world. I'm your host for today, Mark Walsh. Back on the show today, George Kao. So George is one of the few people, along with maybe Tad Hargraves and Mark Silver, that I trust in the marketing space. Big on authentic marketing, offers online courses in that space, lots of good YouTube videos. We had him on before just for half an hour, and it was such a good one. We thought, you know what, let's get him back. So George, welcome.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be back. And I agree with you. I also recommend Tad Hargrave and Mark Silver all the time. So I'm really glad you've had them on your podcasts. Yeah.
Let's dive into the heart of it. So what is marketing? When people say, hey, you're a marketing guy, you know, what does that mean? You know, what's marketing to you?
Well, marketing for me is different from what marketing is for most people, right? Like most of us have experienced marketing as, okay, companies are trying to push their products on us. They're trying to interrupt us in ways that we don't enjoy. And when we join someone's email list, now they're trying to quote unquote market to us all the time with their products and services. And so marketing generally has not been a pleasant experience for most people, and especially those of you who are here listening. You know, you're doing work that's more spiritual in nature, more heart-based, and so you probably want to stay away from marketing as much as you can, right? Even though we kind of have to do that to maintain our business. So what is marketing for me? I like to think of marketing, therefore, differently, which is that marketing for me is two things. It is, first of all, an exploration of what our passions and experiences and skills are, which is kind of different from how people usually think of it. I think marketing is the process of a business trying to figure out its calling, because through expression, we discover more about what our true voice is. Okay, so marketing at first, to me, it's about exploration. And then secondly, to me, it's about service. It's where we're marketing, when it's done well, is in service to the audience, not trying to persuade them to buy something they don't want, but to align with them and meet them where they are. Okay, so basically that's two things. Marketing is exploration, marketing is service. There's other things I can bring into this, but I'll just start there.
Great. Yeah. So, a lot of my students will think of, marketing's sort of a necessary evil, you know, and that's just a bad energy to be starting it with, because, I don't want to do that. It's hard work. And especially when they love what they do, there's so much more appealing to go on another course doing what they do and, learn more about what they do. Whereas if they see it as a personally transformative practice, a spiritual practice in itself, or as a form of play, or as a form of service.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Or as an ethically good thing in terms of, it's about, as you say, that alignment, that like, okay, can I let people know how I can meet their needs? Like that seems like a good thing ethically, right? Like that's
alignment is such a good word that you're using here, because like I said, if it's marketing is about exploration, it's trying to align with our deeper, more authentic expression, which is constantly being explored. I mean, if someone says, I've figured out my true voice, I figured out my true message. Well, there's more to you than that. You're always growing. Every time you are, even your own modality, you're always diving in deeper. There's always more to it as you work with more people, right?
I guess with marketing, there's always that thinking out loud. I look at the website and I go, is this really me? Is this really is this the best I have to offer? Is this the deepest expression of what I have to offer?
Yeah.
So there is an iterative discovery process that's going on in the world of marketing.
Totally. Website is one place, but I think most of the time where we do it is on social media and blogs and podcasts, being interviewed or interviewing others. I mean, that's marketing too. It's like anytime your message and your presence touches somebody else, that is, and related to your business, that is marketing. And so why don't we look at that as, okay, here I am. I mean, right now, this very moment, I'm exploring what I think marketing is. I've never said it exactly this way before. I've said it similar ways, but this is a new iteration of it too. So, and because I'm in conversation with you, so you bring something new to this. So alignment with our, continual exploration and alignment with our authentic selves, and then alignment with, okay, what is my audience needing most from me at this time? Like, what are they wanting? What if I share something like this, is it really going to help them? And the only way to know, actually, is to put it out there.
It's a mixture, isn't it? There's a deep listening involved in marketing, which for me is like this empathic side of marketing. It's the opposite of things like empathic. Actually, you have to have real empathy. And then there's just the courage to just see what sticks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just put out I followed your advice and I did, I'm going to offer some evening courses for free at time, but then sold afterwards. Thank you for that. It was a great one. Had great sign-ups, between 500 and 1,000 people for each one. And I just put 4 things out. And I went, here's 4 things I really like doing. I don't know which one of these is going to be, the most popular. And, I'd say, okay, but, just some of my sort of classic things I can do, with my eyes closed, I know people will enjoy. And, it's just an experiment. And I'm like, well, hey, it's 4 evenings. And whichever one does the best, we'll just keep doing it every 2 months, It's like,
that's amazing. And were you surprised by which one did well?
It's interesting. Like, the main one was just the one I was most known for. Like I was
what was the topic?
But working with the body for trainers and coaches. It's just my thing. That's what my book's about. And I like that work. It's interesting. Like Tad Hargrave said to me, like, look, I just do the marketing for hippies workshop. I've done it lots of times. That's what I get known for. You just got to do the same thing for a few years. And then there was another one, which was the one around life purpose, which I used to do quite a lot of. So I guess I still have sort of a reputation for. Yeah. And then the other 2 that have been, they were the 2 sold workshops that I did well lately. And then stuff on trauma and stuff on ethical marketing. They're the 2 that have been popular lately. Like, and they're sort of like hot topics and things like that. But yeah. So it's like right now this is marketing, but it's the end of a long week. It's Friday afternoon. I'm tired. I've been writing my book. It's been hard work as well as fun. I'm tired, but I'm not like looking at this like, oh God, I have to interview George. Yeah. Like, what a hassle. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, as I looked at my diary, I was like, it's kind of a nice thing to have 5 p.m. on a Friday. I'm always done. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like,
and so that's another thing that I want to bring into this, which is that to me, okay, so most of the time, when you learn marketing from the mainstream people, you kind of get the sense that marketing is either kind of like hunting or it's kind of like war. Like it's right. or third one is it's like religion. Like, okay, so marketing's like hunting because we're always taught to like bait people with our opt-ins, right? You get them to buy the
email, you capture it.
Here they're capture right.
Okay, I don't capture anyone's email. I want to give it to me like freely. You know what I mean? It's like capturing it.
Oh, and then they have this word where you sell them a low-cost product. And then if they buy it, it's a tripwire. Right?
Wow.
No, literally. This is what digital marketing, it's a tripwire, which then triggers your system to then try to make the kill of like, try to sell them higher stuff. All this.
Even the idea of a sales funnel, right? Like we're trying to cram everyone.
Yeah. That's another one.
It's like, well, there's a relationship funnel, there's a trust funnel, there's a funnel.
So this is marketing as hunting. There's marketing as war, which is more Madison Avenue, like bigger stuff where it's kind of like you're in competition. You're trying to literally marketing campaign. The word campaign comes from war language. So you're trying to like win more of the mind share of the market. And it's very battle oriented. And then there's marketing as religion, which you're trying to convert your followers into
followers. It's cult-like, isn't it? It's really cult.
It is. It's and so I've looked at all that and like, is there a better way of relating to all this? And I said, well, what about this? Marketing is friendship.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm just trying to. Like, as I look at you, Mark, okay, I'm not trying to like persuade you into anything. I'm trying to like, how can I meet Mark where he's at? How can I be a good person where I'm helpful to Mark? And then one day, Mark may help me out in some way, or when I make an offer or something, Mark might say yes. But I think of it as, okay, if I'm building a friendship and then sometimes I have a party I want to bring people to, like I'm creating a party, I'm creating an event. Mark, hey, you want to come to my party? Yeah, I think you might enjoy this. I've got some people coming. No worries if you can't. It's you might have other stuff to do, or it might not be a theme you're interested in. No worries at all. I have other parties I'll invite you to. So when I think of that as like inviting my friends to an event, a party, a launch, whatever it is I'm selling. And if it's right for them, they'll do it. If not, no worries, next time, then it's like low pressure. Like, hey, I'm going to just try creating various kinds of parties and I'll see what my friends are really into.
Consent is, I think there's a piece I've just seen here around choice. Like, you don't make your friends come to the pub. They want to come to the pub because they like your company, right? Like, for me, this is what marketing is. It's not trying to pressure or hassle or persuade even. It's just like, hey, as honestly as I can, here are some choices that I think would benefit you. I could be wrong, and you're a free human being to choose. I think these, given that you like X, Y, and Z, you might like this too, right? Yeah. And it's a free choice, and there's this like, take it or leave it. It's no problem either way. And of course, there's a tantra in that, because that's all well and good in theory, George, but then it's like, part of me, there's a greedy part of me. Like I've heard you say this on video, that greed is always part of us. And there's that part of me that comes in and says, yeah, but wouldn't it be nice to get 20% sign-ups and not 15%? Like there's that part that comes in. So I think we do need to acknowledge that is just part of human nature as well.
It is.
Start objectifying people rather than human beings.
But it's the same thing. If I'm inviting people to the party, of course I want more of my friends to come to the party. If I have a certain I want more people to come to the party. Yeah, of course I want more people to come. And if not as many people came, I'm like, next time I'm going to try something different. Maybe they don't like this kind of theme, and I'm going to try a different theme, and that's okay. But the other thing about friendship, right, is that most of the time we're just enjoying each other's company. I'm bringing something good to you. I'm seeing what you're bringing, and I'm appreciating it. And of course, in the marketing context, it's when I'm bringing something good to you, I'm posting on social media some kind of content. I'm putting YouTube videos up or whatever it is I want to share. You don't have to do all of it. You just do whatever you enjoy doing. It could be an email newsletter. It could be a podcast. It could be YouTube. It could be Facebook posts. It could be Instagram. It could be on medium.com. Whatever you enjoy doing, however you enjoy, connecting with your audience as friends, you bless them with that, and then they bless you back with their comments, and you appreciate their comments, and you say, hey, thank you so much. I really like that you brought in that point. Or if maybe they disagree sometimes, and that's friends do. Say, hey, you know what? I'm really open to that idea. Hey, thank you for sharing. I might have a different experience, but I really appreciate that. That's where your experience is at. Great. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a kind of a religion, right? It's like I'm the only person who's right.
And if you to this thing I already know, and
it's this formula, and this is the only way to do it. And if you're doing it a different way, you're wrong. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be like that, right?
Lovely. Okay, let's look at some sort of practical things people out there might have then. I've been watching a bunch of your videos again, which I always enjoy. It's always a good sign for me, because it's like, if I feel like someone's just sharing what they enjoy, I can watch it all day. But if I feel like they're angling on me for a sale, I don't want to watch it. Like in my body, I just feel it straight off. Golf, I just don't. But it's just, oh, cool. It's just George doing his thing. I can watch it in the bath, George. You've had about 5 baths with me. You don't know this, but I just watch it in the bath. I'm chill. I'm chilling out. Oh, George is talking about his thing. Okay, cool. Just hanging out. My wife comes in, says something. But one I saw was good was like, how do you describe what you do? Because a lot of people get stuck on this. They get kind of like, I've got lots of, I'm a transformational coach and I help people transform and I do transformational coaching. And I'm like, what do you do? I don't get it. So how do you help people with that?
It's so interesting. I'm about to put a video up today that is going to kind of go against what a lot of the teaching is out there about this. Okay. So I'll kind of give you a preview of it.
Go for it.
I think a lot of people struggle, rightly so, with describing what they do, because I get it. How can you put your life's experience and your potential, your infinite potential, into 280 characters or whatever it may be, right? It's really, really hard to do. So I think there's 2 things we need to create. One, yes, you can work on your what I would call your intro statement. Hi, Mark. Introducing myself on a podcast, or I'm writing a bio at the end of an article, or I'm at a networking event and I speak for 30 seconds about what I do. That's what I call your intro statement. Mm-hmm. And I invite you all just to work on this forever. Like, it's okay. You don't have to get it perfect right now. If you don't have it perfect right now, you don't have to like delay the next thing you're launching or whatever. Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing that we need to create is the description of the offer that we're selling right now. So Mark, you had your 4 courses. Each course had a different description.
Right. So it's like, I help these people with this problem, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you know, marketing. So it's like each offer description, whether it's a online course or whether it's a one-to-one service or whether it's a counseling or coaching package or whether it's a retreat, whatever it is we're selling, that offer has its own description and doesn't have to be a perfect thing. It's just describing, okay, let's get real practical. Who is this thing for? And sometimes you even need to say who it's not for.
Right.
Now, Tad Hargrave is brilliant. He does this all the time, right? Like, who is this not for? And okay, so who is it for? Maybe who is it's not for? What is this meant to do for the person it's for? And how am I credible to offer this particular thing? I don't have to tell you about my life story and how when I was 11 this happened to me. No, well, unless it's relevant to this offer.
What's the authority that I've got for this? Like, I don't know. Like, I help life coaches work with the body in a practical, safe way, and that's not everything about me, but that's pretty relevant to one of my main courses. Yeah. And I have authority for that. I wrote a book on this. I've been doing this for 10 years. I was trained by these people. We've had 250 graduates from this course already. Here's some social proof. So, but I guess it's like, a lot of people don't want to be pinned down, I guess. And I get that, because that doesn't encompass who I am as a person, right? It's just one of
not at all. I mean, you're way more than that. I mean, I think of you as a brilliant interviewer. That's not part of your bio. You didn't say that at all.
Right. No, I don't think of that as an identity level thing, but I guess I've done 250 interviews now. So
that's why I think that we need to separate this idea between intro statement, which, to be honest, okay, I'll just be on. I'll be super honest about this. I think our intro statement is more of a vanity exercise.
God, what do you mean? Give an example, George. What's the intro statement like for you? Or for
intro statement? George Kao is an authentic business coach who breaks the mold of traditional marketing. And I'll be honest with you, Mark. I'll be honest with you, Mark. I don't know what the fuck my intro statement is.
I get sent these from guests sometimes. They're like, can you introduce me this way? And if it's like, hey, he's the founder of Authentic Business and he did this and this book's called Marketing Pippies, I'm like, cool. But often it's like, he takes radical new approach to ground. I'm like, fuck off. I'm not saying that. You don't even believe that. I don't believe it. Like, this is no way.
So the intro statement, I think, okay, so I do think people need to kind of work on that over time. A cynical way is calling it a vanity exercise, but a more practical way is that it is a focusing exercise. I mean, it is a focusing statement that helps you to go, okay, all right, that's kind of what my business is about. And it also gives people a taste of what you're about. But it really, when they make the buying decision, so let's get real practical about marketing, is when they're making the buying decision, they're looking at your offer.
Yes.
They're like, okay, who is this thing for me? Okay, what is this thing going to do for me? Why is this thing important to me? Okay. And why is this person credible to do it? The part of their bio, the part of their history, the part of their, experience that matters in this offer. Do I trust that?
Right.
Okay. And then of course you might want to,
right? It's just,
and then you could tell me the logistics as part of the offer description. Oh, okay. This course starts this time, or in the one-on-one sessions with me, the first thing we're going to do is this work. And then that, whatever it is, like, let's separate these two. The intro statement you can work on for the rest of your life. It's going to keep evolving just like you keep evolving. Whereas the offer statement, the offer description, you need to work on that for each thing that you're launching, or each time you are on the phone with a client and they're saying, so tell me about your one-on-one service. That's what you need to work on to say, all right, it's for this kind of person. This is what it does. This is the logistics of it. This is why I offer it,
And this is what takes, and you're very sweet about this, and I'm kind of brutal about this, but I think we've probably got the same core of it, which is there isn't much room for ego in marketing, because I do it in my language. No one gives a shit about me or you. No one gives a shit about the guy making the coffee, really. I mean, other than basic human decency, it's like, can you make me the coffee? can you get me the result? That's the thing they're most interested in, the client. They don't care that you studied Iyengar yoga in India for 10 years with someone they've never heard of. They care that they get relaxed at the end of their hard work day and then they can deal with their screaming kids, right? Like that's what they want, is the outcome for them. Like if I put myself in that, well, I'm Mark Walsh and I've done this and I've done that and this is my, they don't care.
Yeah. Well, I'll the way I'll say this, they do have, if there's some relationship with you and your presence, your so-called brand, you don't have to try so hard to make the offer sound amazing.
Just trust.
All right. So for example, people trust Starbucks for coffee, right? So it's like whatever Starbucks puts out as a new coffee flavor, sure, I'll give it a try. You don't have to try. They don't have to try so hard to sell me. Hey, it's Starbucks. All right, it's probably going to be okay. Some people hate Starbucks. Some people love Starbucks. But that's the idea. Brand
that you like. Yeah. There's some brand out there you trust, brand. Right?
Same thing with Mark Walsh. Hey, I trust Mark Walsh for any kind of embodiment work. So if he's got a new course on some newfangled embodiment thing, he doesn't have to try so hard. I'm going to take it. Okay. Now, what happens in marketing when people don't have some kind of relationship with that person is that person then has to use all kinds of persuasion tactics to try to make the offer sound so amazing that like you would have to be an idiot to say no to this, like it has to be so hyped up. It comes with, you're going to make $1 million in 30 minutes, by doing nothing. Right?
It's basically relationship building, isn't it? Like over time, people listen to these podcasts and they might listen to 50, 100 episodes. And then they might eventually look at a website of mine to look something up. They might then a Facebook ad comes up and they go, oh, I know that guy. I listened to his podcast. Oh, I read his book. Okay. I trust this guy enough to bother to spend 5 minutes reading the website because everyone's busy. So why would they spend 5 minutes otherwise? Like, I don't read every email I get.
Absolutely.
We're all busy people. So it's like, okay, there's a bit of trust there. And okay, because there's always a risk, right? Even if it's free, the risk is my time. That's a hell of a thing, risk, really. So people
it's your time, but also is this guy, the free thing, going to sell me on the next thing? And the next thing is all of us consumers are more savvy than ever before. We've all attended free webinars. We've all opted into that free newsletter and then seen what happens afterwards. So everybody knows. So if somebody has listened to your podcast, they've read your Facebook posts, they've seen your YouTube videos, or wherever you show up, and they've been blessed with content on specific topics, then they have a relationship with you on those topics. So that when you do sell whatever it is on those topics, they go, oh yeah, I get that Mark is selling me on, okay, how can life coaches do better with working with the body, with, et cetera. So, because I've seen Mark talk about that.
I think a lot of it does come down to people are tired, people are busy. Like if I think marketing, I just immediately just think you and Tad and Mark. Okay, who's that woman's name? Tracy, someone. But there's only so many names I can think of, and I'm busy. Let's say I've got a new website and I want a marketing guide to look over it. Yeah. Oh, Julia, I've known for years, and her emails on my phone, and I can put Julia an email in. It's dead easy, and I know she'll do a good job. So it's like, okay, Julia, okay, I need one more guy. Okay, Tad. Okay, CC Tad. Okay, and that's that sort of job done, and it's not like a big part of my day. Do you know what I mean? Like most of our decisions are like that. They're just like, look, I'd rather be having dinner with my wife. So I just sort of want to get that thing. Even on fairly big decisions, I think people act like this. They just sort of tired, and that sort of ease and trust is really, like your email comes up and okay, George, I forgot about him. Yeah, he's a good guy. Like you're as much just reminding people you exist with free content as much as anything, right?
You're right about that. People, when they're making decisions, they don't want to think. They don't want to have to think. They want the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, first person that comes to mind, do I trust them on that? Okay, let's go with it. Right? So because people aren't spending 3 hours to shop. They're like finding, just like you said, the first 10 seconds. So there's the other thing we're going to bring in is top of mind. All right. Marketing is also about top of mind. So basically, Mark, if you show up in my podcast feed, on a regular basis, oh yeah, that's right, Mark, Embodiment, podcast, that's right. This is why brand does matter in that, okay, embodiment. You keep showing up as that. Embodiment Conference,
one word.
Embodiment Course.
I picked a word. I just picked a fucking word, George. It's a word I like. I mean, I like the embodiment stuff, obviously. But
right. So basically, you are pretty much owning that word in my mind and in the minds of probably thousands of people. Okay. So that's really helpful. Top of mind. Okay. Let's say that you can't figure out a single word. That's okay. You can still show up. If you show up often enough, wherever they're consuming content, you will be top of mind for whatever topics you're talking about.
Right. And this is why you need to keep generating, keep giving, keep being creative.
Okay. So let's talk about this. So people go, oh my God, I don't want to like the chore, right? The chore of having to create consistent content. George, please. Okay.
George, it's like me saying, oh my God, I've got to have another conversation with my wife. You know how many movies I've watched with my wife? I have to watch another movie with her. George, seriously, I have to talk to her again? Like, no, I just talk to my wife because I like talking with my wife. Like,
well, let's put it this way: the people who have a journaling habit, they don't go, God, I got to journal again.
Yeah.
Okay. The people who have a habit of painting. Oh my God, do I have to paint again?
Yeah.
No, I mean, no. Today is my day to paint. Writers. We've all seen these quotes, right? From the top, the best writers in history. They don't go, God, I got to show up at 9 a.m. and write again. No, they say, okay, I know if I show up at 9 a.m., I'm going to write and it's not going to be easy always, but I'm going to show up at 9 a.m. and I'm going to write because I'm a writer. This is what I do.
It's a discipline, isn't there, in it as well?
It's a discipline. And also it's not like, oh, I got to wash the dishes. Although washing dishes can be fun, by the way. Like if we like enjoy the warm water and
washing dishes, putting them away is the hassle, George. I like washing them.
But like, okay, so like, okay, again, like a music composer. Okay, they show up, they compose music. They don't know what they're going to compose, but they're going to show up and go, let me play with some ideas. How about this idea, right? Or athletes, they show up and they train because they know that if they don't train, they get flabby, they get out of shape. And the same thing with us creators. If you're recording a podcast, if you're writing an article, if you're making a video, if you're on Instagram, you know that if you don't show up, you get flabby.
Yeah,
if you don't show up, you can't explore.
It's easy. Quick break from the interview to tell you about our shop and a deal we've got on there, and also about some events that are coming up. So if you go to Embodied Facilitator /shop and use the code podcast 50 is the code, you can get 50% off anything in the shop. And what have we got on there? How to design training, trauma for facilitators, breath work, leadership, resilience, life purpose. There's a bunch of books, there's a bunch of e-courses, mostly for facilitators, trainers, coaches, yogis, different ebooks, but that code will give you 50% off anything at all there in the shop. So that could save you, let's say, up to £100, which is about $120. So well worth having that code. Go to embodiedfacilitator.com/shop. Also on that website, you will see embodiedfacilitator.com/events-calendar. Just look under events under the main title. You'll see all the stuff we've got coming up for events. We regularly have free online events. If you're interested in embodiment, we have them on coaching, life purpose, marketing, or trauma, all sorts of things. So have a look at the events page. You can see the different one-day events we've got coming up related to the conference and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so all of that is on embodiedfacilitator.com. And remember that code there. That code is podcast50 if you want 50% off anything. There you go. A good deal. Back to the interview. And let me add something to that, George. I say as well, I tell students to pick a medium that they do enjoy and then get a discipline. Because, Twitter's not for everyone. Facebook's not for everyone. Instagram's not for everyone. Podcasts aren't for everyone. Like, I like podcasts because I like chatting to people. I'm Irish. It's just easy, Like, chat to people is not hard. So it's like, for me, this is easy. I just send it afterwards, 2 minutes work to get it processed. Someone else edits it. I'm like, great, it's easy. So I think you've got to find stuff you enjoy as well, but then also have the discipline. Like, I have podcasts 2 a week booked into my schedule. Maggie books them in. That's what I do. And there is a discipline to that. Wherever I'm in the world, you do the podcast. So
yeah,
2 or 3 years later,
I call it a joyful discipline. I mean, right. You can call it whatever you want, but here's my suggestion then. So discipline, I think, is a great word if we can relate to it in a way like an athlete relates to exercise or a painter relates to painting. It is part of our identity, and it's part of our creativity. Now, and it's part of staying in shape, part of our work, because every time we write, every time we speak, every time we record, we are solidifying the ideas that we've been thinking about recently, and we are also exploring new ideas. Now, you do podcasts is easy for you because you schedule time with somebody there, and then that I'm going to be here, so we're going to have to do this, right? And hopefully it's fun. I'm going to recommend a tool for everybody who needs to write or who needs to record on their own. The tool that I use multiple times a day. It's called Focusmate. Mark, have you ever heard of this?
Focusmate. No, that's like 2 words, like a brand. I'm writing down on my phone.
It's one word. Focusmate.com.
Okay.
It's just like it sounds. FOCUSMATE.com.
I need to start book writing right now, just because the problem with the book is there isn't a short-term payoff. Well, I can do a podcast I can do a Facebook post because I get all the little likes afterwards and it's done.
Interesting you say that, Mark, because this is how I've self-published 4 books, and this is how I did it. Every single chapter was basically a post that I put up on social media.
That's what I did in the first one. It worked great for me. I was able to get something out of it all the way through. But this one, the structure is a bit different.
This one's structure is different. Are you able to share anything from whatever you're writing each day?
I'm sharing little bits, and I quite like that. And it makes me feel, okay, there's a little bit I can share. But this is quite a technical kind of book. The last one was like, I got written because it was basically bite-sized people that got made into blogs, and all the blogs got put together, and I turned it into a book. And it was ADHD friendly, Whereas this one's This one's much more like kind of like a technical manual, which would be great when it's done, but it hasn't got quite the same. It hasn't got as many like quick wins and like easy. I can share that bit,
So for things like that, Focusmate is amazing. I use it literally about 2 to 4 hours a day. I use Focusmate.
What is it? Tell me about it. It's an app.
So it's kind of like it's amazing. So Focusmate is where you sign up for this. It's free. It's free if you have like up to 3 sessions a week. If you do more than 3 sessions, I think right now it's $5 a month. I mean, it's incredibly affordable for the kind of life-changing stuff that happens here. So basically with like $5 a month, you could do unlimited sessions, and you basically schedule time in the Focusmate to say, all right, I'm going to do 9 a.m., I'm going to do 3 p.m. or whatever it is. And you think about, okay, what am I going to do during those times that I typically won't do because I procrastinate on it, like writing a book or doing whatever, writing an article. Okay, so those times in my Focusmate, I'm going to be writing the book or I'm going to be writing the article. Okay, so then you show up in that time because someone else is going to be on the other end. And you check in.
Buddy system.
Yeah. You literally check in.
And he's going, hey, he's in San Francisco and he's working on his book, and I'm in England and I'm working on my blog.
Yeah,
I'm totally. Like, and he's like there on the screen or some shit. So like,
they're there on the screen. You have to be on screen, and then you check in for the first 2 minutes. Mark, what are you up to? Oh, you're writing a book. Cool. Hey, where are you at? Oh, yeah. And then I'm here. So I'm writing a book, or I'm working on my bookkeeping. I keep procrastinating. Doing book. Okay. And then we stay on screen for 45 to 50 minutes, and you're working on this. You can chat occasionally if you say, all right, I just got done with, the first 3 paragraphs. That was really hard, whatever. And you just go, and then at the end, you check in verbally again. Mark, how did it go for you?
So it's always like your chapter? You do it like for an hour. It's like 9.
You do it for 50 minutes. Yeah.
Great, because that's a good amount of time to work anyway, because then you can go to the toilet, have a cup of tea, come back and do another hour or change activities, right?
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. The therapeutic hour, as they call it in therapy, I think is a good move. Yeah. That's good, totally. Man. I like that. So, all right, one for start. Thank you. I'm writing a book right now, so this is going to be helpful to me. I will definitely give that a try for my next book writing session tomorrow. I've just signed up for it, actually, while we're talking.
Yeah,
and,
awesome.
Here's something I wanted to tell you about, George. I'd love you to take the lessons out of this. I think you'll love this, right? I sent out 2 newsletters lately, and I'm not sure if the second one was a mistake. The first one I think was basically I didn't have anything to write that week. I would send out a newsletter. It just so happened there wasn't much going on, and I just sent a message out that said, "Hey guys, I just want to wish you all well. Like I hope you're well. Genuinely, I hope you're doing okay. And I know this COVID thing's kind of rough, and some of you have lost money and some of you are lonely, and it sucks. And I just want to sort of wish you the best. And whatever you're going through right now, everything changes. It wasn't trying to offer really any coaching though. It was kind of like you'd be nice to your mom or something,
Well, marketing is friendship, right?
Right. It was totally genuine. It was just like, I hope you guys are well, And at the end, that's something. Oh, by the way, our course is ending tomorrow, and there's something else. But that was genuinely an afterthought. Like I only added that right at the end, and I was like, oh shit, I could say my course is coming up, And I forgot like sales were on the low. We'd done our end of early bird, and that's normally when you get all the sales end of early bird. Right. So I wasn't really thinking about it. I was like, okay, whatever. And it went out, and I got over 300 replies. That were just like, thank you so much. The most replies I've ever had from an email. The average number's like 5 to 10. This was 100, if I get 10 replies, I'm like, wow, it's a good email. 300 replies, people just saying, thank you so much. I really need that. It was like, it got the zeitgeist somehow. The sales for the course went through the roof. We hit another 50 sales, which I wasn't expecting at all, and that wasn't the intention in any way, because I had thought, well, early bird's over, they've already been emailed, I'm not trying to spam them, I just added it at the end. Yeah. And I also got 3 pieces of hate mail. People saying, how dare you wish me well? And I like that. And this wasn't any because I say some stuff sometimes. I do off-color jokes. I say rude stuff. I'm a bit.
Well, this is part
of. This wasn't
who,
this. This was like the.
This is authentic. That's part of why I like you. Like otherwise, I mean, this makes your podcast. This makes your stuff more interesting. To be honest with you, because otherwise, I mean, it's not like you're trying. It's just who you are.
Sure, but I just thought this was funny. Like, there was a couple of lessons for me. One was just authentically being relational with people is a huge win, both in terms of love, like people obviously enjoyed it, but also in terms of the sale, which again genuinely wasn't like a trick. I was just like literally added that as an afterthought. And then the second idea was, no matter how nice you are about what you send out, some people are still gonna hate you for it.
Right.
So I kind of went.
Well, this is what happens. The larger your audience, the more hate mail you will get.
Right. Just in terms
so everyone has to understand this. Like, if you are starting to get some trolls on your social media comments, or you're starting to get, hate mail, then you should, say, oh, got it. My audience is starting to get large enough where that's starting to happen. I read a Tim Ferriss article on this. It's just like, look, the average celebrity at any one time is dealing with 3 stalkers. It's just like, if you're at a certain level of celebrity, that's just normal. And 10 court cases. They're suing 10 different people or being sued by 10 different people at any one time. Like, that's just a normal thing once you're at like Hollywood kind of celebrity level. So that must be a nightmare. But I've already seen, once your list starts growing into the thousands to the tens of thousands, I've already seen that. And there's a thick skin to an extent, because it's hard to realize it's a numbers game. Okay, so 99% enjoyed it, 1% didn't. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. No, that's fantastic. I mean, well, and if you think about this, so there's this thing called the negativity bias. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Which is a proven, not proven. It's as proven as it could be in psychology, which is human beings, we pay attention to the negative reactions we get, the negative interactions, far more. I something like 7 to 10 times more than the positive. I mean, we take for granted the positive ones. We forgot about them already. Whereas we probably got 10 times more, like you said, than we got the negative ones. But the negative ones, why is that? Well, our evolution, obviously, because the negative thing would have killed us in the past. So we have to be super attentive to it. So now the same thing, but now, of course, we're not going to eat some bad berry on the tree and die. Okay. So now we have to shift our mind and go, wait a second. This is evolution. I can consciously evolve towards, let me pay attention and give thanks to the 297 grateful emails that I got. My God, let me read them again.
I replied to every single one of them, even just with a smiley face, because I was like, well, if they're taking time to message me, it took me about a week, but I got through it.
Well, and I want to extract a lesson here for everybody, right? Like, the fact that you and I just in our interactions, even in the beginning when you first reach out to me, like you are so responsive, right? Like, and I see you in the comments on your Facebook and everything and elsewhere. Like, you are so responsive to your people, and it's simply sometimes it's just the volume of work that we're willing to do that really makes a difference to our success. And a lot of people have this fantasy that, oh, and we've been sold on this idea of easy business. Oh, business is supposed to be easy because everyone's trying to sell us programs that, oh, you can make 6 figures in 30 minutes or whatever. No, business is about people and being nice to people, which means that you have to be willing to reply to their emails or reply to their comments. And when you do that, people go, my God, Mark replied. Even if it's a smiley face.
I spent an hour on Facebook replying to all the messages in my other folder last night with a voice message because I was too tired. It was like 9:00 at night. And I just went, hey, thanks for your message. Really appreciate it. Okay, next person. Hey, okay, yeah, this is a therapist I recommend. Okay, yeah. And they're all like, and there is probably a point where I need to stop doing that. I mean, that is a line, right? If I'm doing it at 9:00 at night, and obviously I outsource things, and my secretary helps, but my secretary can't write personal replies. That's not. Right.
Well, Mark, I mean, you. This is why you are way more successful than any other embodiment teacher that I've had the pleasure of speaking with, because you're willing to do that. Now, again, I'm not asking everybody to do that, because I actually probably have, I have a good work ethic, but I don't think I work as hard as you do. But I also have a smaller audience than you do. And let's talk a bit about this. You don't have to, everybody listening to this, you don't have to have a 10,000 person email list to have a business that's really good.
1,000 customers is loads. If they're loyal customers, even 200 customers is plenty if they come into your workshops regularly, right?
Oh gosh. Even if you have, I mean, how many of us have, 20 clients we see every week? Very, very few people. If you had 20 clients you saw every week, that's, $6,000 to $10,000 a month, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's we don't have to have that many people. We need to, if you have 100 email subscribers that are really right for you and you really take care of them, that may be all the business you ever need.
I'd much rather have a list of 1,000 people where the list had 100% open rate and they were all into my courses and they all rate all my courses, than 100,000 where, the open rate's 20% and, some people don't like it. Some people like it, but will never come to a course. It's kind of like a lot of work,
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of replying. It's a lot of emails that you get.
With that in mind, what do you think's narrowing things down? Because we've developed this big list, particularly with the conference, because it's so broad and these big events. And we're now doing two things. So we had all these people come in from the Embodied Yoga Summit and the Embodied Trauma Summit, and we'll have another bunch come in from the next summit. And on the one hand, I want to welcome them in and say, hey, here's some free stuff, welcome in. I want to greet them like you would people come to your house and give them food and, be like, hey, here's a bunch of cool stuff. But also I know some of them aren't my clients, right? I know some of them, in fact, are gonna, so I sent out another email a week later and I put a joke in that email, which was a little off color. It was about long-haired hippie men trying to sleep with you at tantra conferences and doing overly eye-gazing. And it was funny, frankly, and it was true. But it was also a few people were upset by it. And I think the reason was they'd had, trauma and bad experiences. And that's fair enough. They emailed me and, I chatted to a couple of them. And most of those conversations went pretty well. And, thanks, it's okay that they messaged me and, they had reasons for that anger kind of thing that was there. I'm not saying they're bad people or anything, but they're probably never going to be my customers.
Right.
If that sort of joke is going to upset, literally one email came in capital letters, I am offended, ! Yeah. And it was like, okay, you've got a right to your feelings and you're not a bad person, but you're not in my tribe. This is, you know what I mean? How do you, do we want to filter that down?
Right. So that's the exact word. And this is something that our friend Tad Hargrave does such a good job of teaching about, which is marketing is about filtering. Yeah. It's marketing is not, and this is something so important for us to remember again and again. Good marketing is not about trying to please everybody in the world.
Right.
I mean, as we know, good coaching isn't, good teaching isn't, good relationships aren't about trying to please everybody in the world. Good marketing is about serving the people who are most meant for you and serving them really well and meeting them where they're at. Again, the people who are meant for you. And also, therefore, it means, you use the word filter, Tad teaches about this, it's about filtering out the people who are not meant for you, which means, and what I talk about all the time, is expressing your authentic self is a wonderful thing because, and let me just talk about this in a different way. I make mistakes all the time. Okay. And the other day I recorded a group call. It was with some of my clients. It was, maybe like 24 of my clients. And I said something that later on, I'm like, damn, I think I was too, I talked about a mistake I made in the past that it was somehow related to what I was talking about. And later I'm like, oh man, I kind of regret saying that. That was my immediate reaction after the call. And then I slept and I had a hard time sleeping that night. Okay. And then the next day I realized something. I'm like, if I lose any clients over this, it's okay because I don't have to please anybody. And actually, to be honest, Mark, I don't want to be liked that much.
Yeah, I think wanting to be liked is a huge barrier to authentic marketing, right?
Yeah. And just authentic relationships.
Right. Like if I'm trying to please, I can't serve. And if I'm trying to please, I'm always going to be holding part of myself back. So real connection is impossible.
Real connection is impossible. Real creativity is impossible. The real uniqueness that it's only yours to express in this life is not possible.
So what do you say to people who aren't as disagreeable as me? Because I've got a reasonably high capacity for this, my personality. And it still stings me. I'm not, it still stings when I get that email saying, you're a racist. I'm like, where does this come from?
No, nobody wants to hear that. It hurts everybody to hear that. Yeah. So basically I don't want to be liked too much because I don't want to be a guru. I don't actually even want that large of an audience. I want just a good-sized audience, people who really like who I am, who really get who I am, who don't mind my mistakes, and who say, hey, George is the imperfect human being. And by the way, I actually posted about that exact experience. I said, here's what happened. I didn't go into the details, but I said something I regret, but then I realized that blah, blah, blah. And then people commented and said, George, I was on that call and you didn't say anything that offensive. Like something that we always have to remember is the negativity bias is strongest within us too. Like we are so sensitive to the mistakes that we thought we made.
People just go, I think about it as well, though, like socially, if we grew up in little caves with 100 monkeys in, it's like if one of those 100 monkeys hated you, that was a problem. When you had
that's a big problem because if you get ostracized by your tribe, you literally die in the wilderness.
And even one person in that cave trying to undermine you and telling the person you want to marry you're an asshole, and do you know what I mean? Like that's dangerous. Like one person can do a lot of damage in a social system that you're deeply, with 50, 100 people.
And that's how we evolved. So we have that within us. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're applying that within us to this weird internet situation where it just doesn't make sense anymore because there's so many more monkeys out there, So.
You can have 1 million people hate you. And even if there's, 1,000 people who love you, that's all that matters. I mean, by hate, that's a little too strong. But let's say you turned off 1 million people. Like, that guy's not for me. But 1,000 people love you and your work. That's all you need. So back to this question of, how do we deal with the guy calling you a racist?
Yeah, for more sensitive people especially as well. Some of my students are so scared of this because they see some of the stuff that gets thrown at me on Facebook. They can see it because it's public. And they're like, I never want to be in that position. They're terrified.
Okay, I'll tell you something. It's going to happen if you want to do any kind of online marketing. It's going to happen to you at some point. It might not be as hateful as you're a racist, but it might just be some comment that's like, it made me feel a little uncomfortable. It criticized me in a way, even if it's subtle. Okay, here's what I recommend. Like we all need a policy for dealing with disagreeable comments. Okay, and here's my policy. If the person is willfully trying to hurt me, okay, if they're being a jerk, willfully, then I block them.
Yeah, delete them.
And it's okay, ban them, block them, whatever it is that platform has, or unsubscribe them. It is your right, and it's also important for your mental health to do this. To say, you know what, I'm going to consciously say, this person is not part of my tribe.
And it's nice when you've got a clear line like that, because you don't have to think about it. Like I have a clear line, which is anyone can disagree with me online, but if they insult me or anyone else in the discussion personally, they get one warning, and if they do it again, they're out forever.
To me, if they're willfully trying to hurt, if that's my sense, like they're actually trying to hurt me, then there's a problem there. Okay, and then the other policy. Okay, so I have one policy is willful hurt. Okay, you're out. Second is if they're disagreeing with me they're honestly giving their opinion, and they felt hurt by something I said, but they're not trying to hurt me back because maybe they felt hurt and they're just saying, you know what, George, it's really unfair you said that, or what about this situation? I really disagree with you. That's okay. Then we can have a conversation and I might learn from this. It helps me to open my mind.
And there's that. And I think this whole thing is a spiritual practice where we don't make our self-esteem and our happiness dependent upon the opinions of others generally. Now that you'd have to be totally enlightened. So I kind of go, okay, if I can't quite meet that standard, I'm going to make it dependent, if I have to, on my business partner, my best friends, my two main colleagues, my wife. There's a small circle of people whose opinions, and I filtered those people for two criteria. One is they care about me, and the second one is they're competent. And not in every domain, right? So I care about your opinion on marketing, George. I don't know if I want to care about your opinion on music taste because I don't like what your music tastes like. I just don't know anything about what music you listen to, you know?
Yeah. So
it's like I filter for those two things.
I love that.
And then I've got, okay, this person's kind and competent. They care about me and they're giving me things that it's hurtful. I don't like to hear it, but I'm still going to listen to this. As opposed to I have no relationship with this person. I made this mistake the other day. I gave some feedback to someone without real permission and there wasn't really the relationship for it. And, you know, I was right, but aren't we all, you know? And and it was just, there wasn't the relationship there for it. And she was like, yeah, you know what? I'm not interested in coming on your podcast anymore. And I was like, You know what? That's actually kind of fair enough. You know, like that was a fifth date move and I did it on a first date, you know? So yeah, we'll make mistakes with this. Huh?
Yeah, we all do. And we have to, something that everyone's going to discover here as you do marketing. And this is something that I keep being surprised by, like year after year. There are so many people in the world. like literally, Mark, how come we didn't know about each other until this year? Like you didn't just start your business this year.
No, 13 years.
Right. Like, and I've been around for more than, for 11 years. Like, how come, like, there are so many people in the world. Like, there are so many people that you haven't even met. And this is what I like to say, right? Like you, in the lifetime of your business, maybe you'll have 1,000 true fans. And guess what? Most of those true fans haven't even met you yet. Like they haven't even heard about you yet. If you think about this, like maybe for everybody everybody we're talking to here, maybe they have a Facebook page of 100 fans, you know, and out of those 100 fans, maybe like 10 of them are true fans. But when I say true fans, I mean people who just really get you. They really love your work and you really can't even make a mistake that will turn them away because they just really like who you are. Okay. You got 10 true fans right now. You'll probably get to 1,000 or 500 in the lifetime of your business. People 500, 1,000 will just get you. They'll buy just about everything you put out there. And most of those 1,000 haven't even heard of you yet. There are so many people. So you're like, when you're creating content, think about those 1,000 future ones who will eventually hear about you. Don't worry about the 90 others who are kind of your fans right now, but they don't really get you. Talk to those 10 and talk to those 1,000 who are gonna love you, who are gonna hear about you.
George, we need to wrap up fairly soon. I've got a yoga class in the hour. I promised myself I'd get to have a little bit of chill time today, doing my body, doing that embodiment stuff I talk about. And I want to ask you like one last question here. It's something like what do you think is the biggest surprise when people start learning about marketing? Is there something that, like, you know, the fact that it's a spiritual practice is probably unbelievable actually to some listeners. And it's for other listeners, it's on the tip of their tongue. You know, that was a surprise for me. Another surprise was I would meet really decent human beings like you and Tad. You know, I like talking to you and Tad. And like what do you think? It's like some of the biggest surprise. I kind of want to it's like here in me. It's like what opened or blossoms as a surprise with this stuff.
I spend money. I spend money on Facebook ads. Most of the money I spend on Facebook ads is not to sell stuff. It's actually just to bless people with content. It's not that when you see a Facebook ad from me, most of the ads are just, oh, this is some helpful, inspiring message. The biggest surprise for me has been that marketing most of the time is simply a ministry.
Ministry. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Ministry, meaning usually people think, oh, marketing, I got to sell something. I got to make money. That's like the typical equation. To me, marketing, because you got to think about this, like
community building.
You could say community building, you know, absolutely. And you could say ministry, community, but even if they might not even join your community, that's the point. Like most of our marketing, when it's done right, it's just simply blessing and helping and inspiring people. That's it. I mean, like Mark, most of the people who listen to this podcast might never buy from you.
Yeah, 1% maximum. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. I'm not thinking.
But you got to realize, like if we look at, and again, just back to the spiritual, we look at the lifetime, like when we do our life review at the end, like you're going to see all the people you helped with that one podcast episode you put out, or that one Facebook post that they never even followed you. Maybe they just read that thing and somehow it shifted the trajectory of their day, which then shifted the trajectory of their life a little bit. Like you have no idea how many people you blessed.
Like today, right? Someone could listen to this, and as a result, it lifts their mood because they thought it was funny and they don't beat the shit out of their kids tonight. Someone else could listen to this, apply it to their business, make $1 million and end up, using that to help people. Someone else could listen to this and it's like, stops them killing themselves because they see a new direction for their business. We just don't know. You've got Golden Gate Bridge behind you, like we just don't know who's walking across that bridge right now and what if they're jumping off or walking to the other side. And it's, and it's also the reason to share rather
it's
than
also the ripple. Yeah. It's like someone might hear something you say or see, and then they might just say one thing to somebody else who then goes on to save someone else's life. I mean, you don't know the ripple effects. That's what surprises me the most. And that's what I keep holding on to.
I first realized this with the podcast. I went to New Zealand on holiday with my wife and we put it out on the podcast and we ran out of money, like as much as my wife ran out of money. And I didn't have any money and I'm in New Zealand and I've kind of got no money. And people were letting me stay in their house who listened to the podcast.
Oh, wow.
And this was, we'd blown loads about this big trip to Japan. It was like a once in a lifetime 3-month trip.
Wow.
And someone picked me up from the airport. Chris, actually, if you're out there, Chris, hey, Chris. Someone picked me up from the airport in Sydney and saved me $50 for a taxi. And someone put me up in their house for a week in New Zealand and showed me around and tipped me up. Hey, Matthew. And it was like, well, I didn't expect that from the podcast. Yeah, that was never my intention when I started the podcast 2.5 years ago, to get free lifts from Sydney Airport or free accommodation in Auckland,
Yeah.
But it's funny how it does come back to you. And I think there's almost like, if you start any marketing that's driven by, I'm trying to get something, people feel it and it doesn't come back to you very well. Whereas if there's genuine giving, there's a magic at play there. I really think there is.
The shorter term you need something from somebody, the more you have to manipulate them. The longer term you're seeing the relationship, the more you can be authentic and just relate to them out of genuine interest, genuine caring, because you know that, hey, you're going to be together for life, So, yeah.
Great. And where do people find you online, George? And your website? And what's a couple of things on the website people might want to look at? Because there's a lot on there. So
I would just say Google my name. Google my name, George Kao. I'm grateful that I'm well SEO'd for George Kao, my name. And then just find me, watch me or read me wherever you want it. Like some people like YouTube. Some people like to read articles. You Google my name, you'll see all of it there. Basically, if you go to my website, there's 2 things you could read. My best articles about marketing, if they're all in one place. And then my best articles about what I call joyful productivity, which is working with joy, working with peace. Those 2 things are right there on my site. So,
George, really appreciate it. I'll be seeing you in the bath again at some point, no doubt. Always welcome back on the show. This has been fun and useful and stimulating as ever. So, George, thank you. Oh, it's Kao, K-A-O, just in case people are hearing that.
Thank you.
You're
That's
Googling
my last name.
K-A-O. Yeah, and George is George. George, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure.
Some ways to get more, to give back, and to get more involved now. So the biggest request I have would be to share the podcast with your friends, people that you think would really enjoy it. Email it to them, put it on your social media, tell them about it, old school. Really appreciate that. Equally, if you want to support us financially, you can go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/Embodiment Podcast and give us $1 an episode. And I'd say they're well worth $1. So that's less than £1 if you're in UK-ish. So please go there. On the embodiedfacilitator.com website is where this is hosted. If most people I think listen to for iTunes. iTunes, we'd certainly appreciate a review. The way iTunes works means that a review means more people will find it. iTunes regards it as more important for searches. So even a couple of sentences review really does help as a little thank you to us. And if you want to go to embodiedfacilitator.com, you can see the actual links to the sites. there's comments on there. The Facebook group tends to be where people discuss things. So if you go to put in the Embodiment Podcast into Facebook, there's a page which is relatively quiet and a group which does have some discussion on. So I will reply to things personally there. So also on embodiedfacilitator.com website, there's all sorts of freebies there. There's videos, there's free ebooks, there's ebooks you can buy, and of course there's our newsletter list if you want to stay in touch and learn about things like the Embodied Facilitator Course and our next Embodied Yoga Principles teacher training. Then go to that website and you'll see a little pop-up and you can get the newsletter through there. Okay, so I think they're the main ones. Tell your friends, pay us some money on Patreon, give us a review on iTunes, send us your email if you want to be on the newsletter list, and get involved on the Facebook there. Bit long. Pick whatever you like that works for you.